you are seeing this sigil right now, you are isolating yourself and either telling yourself that you aren't or are telling yourself that you need to go in it all alone by yourself. You probably have all kinds of very understandable reasons why you're isolating. People don't isolate for no reason, but this isolation is not benefiting you at all. It is making it hard for you, actually. You might not be asking for help. You might not be even accepting help. You might not even be communicating with others or just excluding yourself from people, period. Feeling that you need to do things on your own and avoiding people. No matter what the case may be, the situation at hand cannot be solved if you continue to do this. Ask yourself honestly, how and why am I isolating? There is a common belief that people hold their happiness and love, that it comes from within and should never be, dependent on what anybody else does or what anybody else do to you, especially now with all this spirituality floating around and all kinds of people into spirituality. You might have some leaders out there who might even say, that you don't need others. So it tells you that your well-being is not anyone else's responsibility, that it's your responsibility. It tells you that every person needs to look after themselves, and to keep some kind of distance from others. That this modality teaches us that if we can't keep and even kill or remain emotionally detached and be completely independently happy, something is wrong. You're being codependent. You're relying on everybody in all forms, in all ways, and therefore you are deficient. But there is something that's called discernment. There is something that's called modesty, and the need for other people is seen as an addiction, like, oh, you sweating that other person, or you up that person's ass, or you kissing that person's ass, or all this other kind of stuff, or even, you so attached to that person. Following this belief, one begins to build a model of the world that is lonely and separated. When it seems like this message that the universe is giving you is that you can only rely on yourself and that you cannot have your needs met by others. But remind yourself that this is not the universe's message or its intentions. So you have to really understand the universe's message is to take a look around. Look around and see how everything in the world functions without people, right? There's a discernment to it. There's a balance to it. There's a moderation to it. There's a beat to it. There's a rhythm to it. There's a prediction of it. All that kind of stuff. So this whole construction of you need to be alone in order to do everything that you need to do in life, right, is not so. It's simply a fear that has been instilled into you. And this could be at an early life experience, or it can be at a later life experience, that you are alone and that your needs cannot be met by others. Some people say, I can do it all by myself, or, why I can do it better. If I do it, I know it get done, and they take on all the responsibilities. It's kind of like having a project at school, and you have to collaborate with 4 other people that your teacher put you into, and somehow you got to get this grade. And it's like, okay, if you're a person who cares about your grade, you really want to do well. Or if you care about your presentation, you really want to do well. Or if you care about, feeling good about the presentation, you want to do really well, right? So as we have all probably experienced, you have slackers in the group. You know what I mean? And they has happily was chosen by your teacher for whatever reason, who knows. But a lot of times the person who wants to do well for whatever reason personally, takes over the whole entire project. They do part A, B, C, D, E, F, G, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, have it all done, ready, do the whole speech, while everybody else is just sitting there looking at the person because they took over everything, whether intentionally, maliciously, or felt like they had the world on their shoulders. In order for it to work right, they got to do everything. But you're going to exhaust yourself doing that, because you don't carry the world on your own. It's like 8 billion people here. You know what I mean? So it is simply the reflection of your resistance to yourself, your resistance to the truth of how you feel, and your self-distrust. Because you distrust other people, hence why you separate, but in actuality, your distrust is within yourself. The reality is that you belong to a group of species. Now the difference is between the teacher picking the people for you to help you do that project. Now, you have the opportunity to choose whoever you want on your team, whoever resonates with you, whoever gets you, whoever understands, that idea, that concept, that solution, whatever that is, right? And the beautiful thing is, the internet is here to assist us. The internet has been demonized a lot, but let's look at the brighter side. You are connecting. You can connect with anyone and everyone all over the world, and even space, right? So it's kind of like your connections are not limited as if they were back in the day, back in, the 1920s, back in the 1800s, back in, 200 BC. It's a whole different situation now, so it's no really excuse to not connect, right? And we just got out of a connection period, which is a Gemini period, and I'm actually doing this during a cusp of a Gemini Cancer cusp, right? So use the communication to connect with like-minded people, like-hearted people, like soul people, right? Connection is a more important human need than even food or water, right? I can remember that movie that Tom Hanks did when he was out on an island, and all he had was a ball, and how he made that ball his friend, and that ball is what kept him alive. If you haven't seen it, go check out some snippets on YouTube. You don't have to watch the whole movie. You can just watch the little snippets, and you will get what I'm talking about. Otherwise, people who lose loved ones, would not ever enter like a grief period. It'll be like, oh, they're gone? Okay, that's cool. Now, in today's society, the way it's structured, or trying, quote, to be structured, is so you don't, you lose all that connection, that emotional connection for others, for humanity, and things like that, where you're starting to become stale or so used to it. You're not just, I want to use another word, you're tolerant of it, and I'm telling you, this is not so, okay? Loss of connection would not so often make people fail to thrive. So when you lose connection, there is no proof that losing connection from everyone and everything forever, right, is going to help you thrive. Like that song, Hey Jude, from the Beatles. Look up what Hey Jude was actually inspired by. It was by a female who actually disconnected herself from the entire friends, family, everything else for extremely, extremely long time, and that can have psychological effects on you. And it's kind of easy to disconnect from others, and I'm not saying here's the thing when I'm talking about balance and discernment. Because yes, sometimes you need to disconnect in order for you to thrive spiritually. Within, you need to say no to certain people, places, and things in order for you to get your mind right, to get your space right, get your spirit right, all those things, to get your finances right, to get your living conditions right, to get your scheduling right, to get your eating habits right, to fight any habits you got. So you got to do that, right? But then the test is to go back out and test what you have done. Can you uphold everything that you have built up within yourself to do within society, or can you not? And if you can't, then you have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, there's some pieces or some things that I need to structure within myself so that I can feel secure, I can feel confident, I can feel like I can be in this world but not of this world. I can mix and mingle, I can whatever, I can talk about the weather, whatever, but I'm not really on that tip. But just for human sake, or somebody falls. Nowadays somebody fall, the cameras are coming out and people are taking pictures and making memes before they might not even get to it, asking, are you okay? You get what I'm saying? So if that was you, how would you want somebody to make you feel? You fell, your stuff is all over the floor, your phone is all over this way, your purse or wallet went over that way, your computer bag went another way, your shoe fell another way. What are people going to do around you? Or what would you want somebody to do for you in that situation? So don't lose that, because with the connectiveness, this is how we all thrive, believe it or not, right? We can do great things when we connect, when we are together versus being divided, right? If anybody knows history or anything you know about history, it's a cycle. Everything is about division. And once everything divides, it gets weaker, right? Like yourself, like your family friend dynamic, like your social life, like everything, right? And we can use COVID as a perfect example of how disconnecting makes people feel. So never forget that, even though 10 years from now, there might not be a memorial, there might not be references to this period, but just know it did happen. So we live in a interdependent universe where everything in existence is linked. But we have projected forth into the physical dimensions where our individual perspectives are creating our little subjective realities. So if you want those good people, because you're probably like, oh, I don't know nobody, oh, I cut off everybody, oh, this person not used to hang with it, that's all right. It's gonna come. Just stay open, all right? Stay open to the possibilities of people. And like I said, everywhere is Wi-Fi. The world is now so small. The world is like down the street, around the corner. You know what I mean? It's not a big world anymore. So those people in your life will come. They will gravitate to you, right? Key is moderation, discernment, and patience. We are all dependent on others, okay? We are not fully self-sufficient, even though that has been a trending term, how to be self-sufficient. Okay, yeah, that's cool. That is cool, right? There's ways to go about that. There's ways to do that, right? But there's also ways where you can do that and still be in this world here. You can create your heaven or you can create your hell, right? And the team that you choose can make or break you, right? So that's like hiring a bad tutor. You're not going to pass if you have a bad tutor. That team that you hired is not getting you nowhere. So have discernment, have moderation, and know what to bring in to help and what to not. So if you have drawn this sigil, you have to stop isolating yourself. Involve other people in you and in the situation at hand instead of looking at the world in ways that isolate you. such as how people don't understand you, or how different you are, or now we got this chosen one syndrome and all this other kind of blah 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 blah. Everybody's on their little high horse now, right? Not so. Okay, this wasn't built by one. Everything that you see was built by many. Remember that. Your team is important. Be patient. Choose the right team. Just like if you had a corporation, people rush to hire people, right? Because they want to fill them seats so they can make money. This is not that time. It's about quality. It's about quality. All right? So do your work, keep open-minded, and then people will come and just keep staying on your path. And like I said, stay open to the possibilities. Have a wonderful day and night. This is your shadow work reading.